other alumni that we have spoken to remembers him, and he is not listed in any of the alumni directories. So we would like him to explain this mystery by sharing with us the years he attended Johns Hopkins, what division and major he was in, and we would like Mr. Hines to also give his specific academic background. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could start with Mr. Hines, please, your academic background.
I'm a graduate of Reading Memorial High School, which this studio sits in, and I graduated from Ithaca College with a BA in Political Science in 1990.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Jones.
I graduated North Reading High School in 1983, got an Associate's in Arts degree in 1987 from Harvard University Extension, and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Harvard University Extension in 1988, and attended Johns Hopkins in the fall of 1995 on an ROTC scholarship, and after having made the decision not to pursue a military career, left Johns Hopkins so that the taxpayers would not have to foot the bill for the additional spring semester.
Okay, Mr. Hines, 30 seconds. Any addition?
No additions.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question, please, from Mr. Feely, directed to Mr. Jones.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm just about out of questions. I thought there'd be more call-ins, but so I guess this question would be the follow-up to Chip will be Brad, what do you feel that you can do for Reading and the district that George could not do? And the follow-up would be, what do you feel you could do that Brad could not?
Well, I think I can fairly and even-handedly represent the district, and I'll give you an example of during the campaign. The editor of the North Reading Transcript lives right down the street from Mr. Hines, has never even seen him. When Mr. Hines had his injury and had to suspend his campaign, he couldn't even notify the North Reading Transcript. So I think the voters in North Reading should be very leery of someone who can't even seem fit to notify the North Reading Transcript, a town that represents about 30 to 35% of the district. And I think my record, the record, and the only one of us up here with a record for the service of the entire district, shows that I can fairly, even-handedly represent the district and be an accessible, effective representative for the 38,000 people in the 21st Middlesex District.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hines.
Well, I don't know what Bob was talking about. I know we faxed Bob that we were suspending the campaign when I did get injured. I did find it interesting that he put in the paper that he found out through the Eagle Tribune. I know for a fact that we faxed him that information. As far as what I can do for this town, I think, again, with access to the leadership that Mr. Jones can't have because of his status as a minority party member, that will help this district, and it will help to reflect in the state aid that is brought to this town. It will reflect in what I can do as a legislator that he can't, and I will be more accessible than he has ever even dreamed of being.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Jones, 30 seconds.
Well, I think the question of accessibility is really an interesting one. I think everybody knows I have the district office. Most people have received my newsletter at home this past week that we committed to doing, the cable show, the newspaper column, meeting people, and access to the leadership. I have access to the leadership. I can call up the speaker and meet with him on a day's notice. He's been very accessible to me when he was chairman of Ways and Means, his staff people, or his leadership team. You can call, and they're very accommodating and willing to sit down with a member of either party, of any particular philosophical bent, and willing to work with the members. And the record shows, and we can reiterate the record later on, that I have access to the leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Our next question will come from a member of our viewing audience, and it should be directed to Mr. Hines. Hello, welcome, and please direct your question first to Mr. Hines.
Okay, my question is actually directed to both candidates, but basically the question is for someone who does not follow local politics that carefully, how would you describe, or what would you describe as the most important difference between you and your opponent with regard to specific issues affecting people in the community?
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hines.
Well, the really striking difference for people and for voters to look at is this. Mr. Jones voted against the raise in the minimum wage, and he voted against the ban on assault weapons. I think those are two issues that affect everyone's lives. Assault weapons are 1% of all weapons, but they are involved in 15% of murders of police officers. And I think we need to strengthen the ban on assault weapons, not weaken it. And we need to provide a living wage for those people that need to live on the minimum wage, or for people on welfare who are getting jobs and trying to get their life on track.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Jones.
Well, on those two issues, I think it's interesting. I would assume that Mr. Hines is supporting Senator Kerry for re-election this fall as the good Democrat that he is. And I think this letter in support of my position on raising the federal minimum wage from the senior senator should be adequate to resolve that issue that Mr. Hines has. I find it also very interesting that Mr. Hines says, let's ban assault weapons and make people that are law-abiding citizens illegal, yet it's a typical liberal philosophy of, we're not going to have any more prison space, so we're going to send the message that crime pays, that you're not responsible for your actions, because we're not going to catch you if we do catch you, we're not going to convict you if we do convict you, we're not going to have any place to put you. And that's the reason we have, one of the main reasons we have a crime problem in our society today, because of that philosophy that says, let's pass more laws, make more things illegal, make more people illegal and committing illegal acts, but there's no place to put them. It becomes a hollow criminal justice system.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hines, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I think Mr. Jones realizes I never said that we should be putting criminals on the streets. What I did say is that we need to look at the prison system and decide whether or not there are non-violent criminals that don't necessarily need to be in the prison system. As far as the assault weapon ban goes, he didn't really answer that question at all, why he would vote against an assault weapon ban that would potentially save police officers' lives.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Feely, any additional questions for the candidates?
Yes.
Yes, okay, please. Your next question, please, to Mr. Jones.
Okay, Mr. Jones, would you commit to, actually this came from Rita, do you commit to making a very visible presence throughout the district at meetings, events, special occasions, and the like?
I've made a very visible presence. I mean, I'll give you one example. Reading had 4 different day graduations on 4 different nights. I was there and spoke at each event. We go to things in Reading, North Andover, and North Reading on a continual basis. When we're invited or we think there's an issue that we need a presence, either I'm there or someone's there on my behalf. Quite often in an evening you might have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different places to be at once, and sometimes my legislative aide is required to attend certain things and take notes and make our presence known. But one of the things I've heard, even from people that worked for my previous opponents, is that, Brad, you've been accessible, you get back to people, you try to resolve their problems, you're visible. So I'm going to continue on and expand what we've already done. And as I said, you know, we just mailed our newsletter to over 12,000 residences in this district, and we've already started getting a tremendous response of phone calls and written response, and I think it's tremendous. And that's the role of the state representative, to be interactive with people.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hines.
Well, I have a plan for being accessible to the voters and to my constituents as well. And part of that is attending meetings in all towns, plus holding evening office hours in all towns with regards to being accessible. I think that's really the only way. If you hold office hours during the day, not a lot of people can get to them. And with regards to the newsletter, I would be interested to see if there was a spring '96 newsletter and not just a fall of an election year newsletter.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Jones, you have 30 seconds.
The newsletter is predicated on a review of the legislative action. As Mr. Hines should know, the legislature finished action on July 31st of this year, and then about the 3rd week of August, you get a rough idea of everything that's been signed or vetoed and sent back. And then you sit down, and it does take some time to put together, and does take some time to typeset, does take some time to get printed and sent out. This last Wednesday night, the 23rd, we had evening office hours in the town of Reading. We have evening office hours in the town of North Reading. We're up in North Andover. So quite honestly, you know, in terms of accessibility, for instance, to give you an example, the Lawrence Eagle Tribune needed to do an interview. Mr. Hines couldn't receive them at work, couldn't receive them at home.
Mr. Jones, your time
made
is
them
up.
meet them at a restaurant in Andover, which isn't even in the district.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Feely, your next question, please, to Mr. Hines.
Okay, this is the final one that I have prepared, and it comes from a reader. What are the big issues do you feel will come up in the House of Representatives that would affect the district in the coming session? Excuse me.
Well, I think we need to, I think the School Building Assistance Bureau funding is going to be an issue that I would bring up, that I think needs to be looked at by the state legislature. And I think the megaplex funding will probably be coming up, and I think we need to seriously look at that. With regards to meeting the reporter at a restaurant, I don't see what that has to do with anything with regards to this campaign. We set up a meeting, I met with the man, we had a nice interview.
Mr. Hines, that's not related to the question that Mr. Feely had posed here. If you'd
well.
like to, you still have some time remaining. If you'd like to continue answering the question, the original question.
I think I answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Jones?
I think every form of local aid in terms of school building assistance, local aid, lottery aid are going to be the key issues. Whether we can get a Public Safety Assistance Bureau up and running and funded is going to be a key issue. I think those issues are going to occupy a huge amount of my time, because one of the things that we've developed a track record on is making sure the legislature lives up to its commitments. Reading got $451,000 for PRIT funding with a tremendous letter of thanks from the town manager. And I think those are the kind of things I'm going to continue doing, making sure the state lives up to the commitments that it makes in terms of mandates, local aid, and funding. And I think that's going to be first and foremost on the plate of the legislature and Representative Brad Jones.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hines, 30 seconds rebuttal.
I agree that the role of a state representative is, when you boil it all down, is to be an advocate for the district and to look at the issues that affect the district. I mean, Reading does need a police station, a new police station or a renovated police station, and I think that those issues, the issues that are core to each town, need to be looked at, and that has to be your legislative agenda in the state legislature when it reconvenes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Feely, your next question, please, directed to Mr. Jones. Okay.
You're shooting blanks.
Okay. And I would like to thank Mr. Feely for his questions that he's posed, and I would like to thank everybody at home. But I would also, for the folks who called in with some questions, but I would also like to give the candidates this last opportunity before we wrap to take 1 minute apiece for any final comments that they may have. And since what I will do is I will make a decision here that we will start with Mr. Jones, since Mr. Jones did field the first questions. So Mr. Jones, you have 1 minute for any final commentary.
I'd like to thank Continental and John Upton and Paul Feely and Karen Sawyer for coming down here today to put this candidates debate together. And I'm going to close by reading one brief letter, and I think this sums up the job that I've done in the role of the state representative. And it says, "Thank you, Brad Jones. With the election fast approaching, we'd like to take this opportunity to let the voters of North Reading and the surrounding communities know that your vote for Brad Jones for state representative would be their best choice. We need to be represented by someone who truly cares about his constituents and who doesn't hesitate to get involved in their behalf. We encountered a medical hardship causing much anguish and suffering within our family. We called Brad Jones, and as a result of his professional and genuine dedication to helping one of his constituents, he diligently worked on my family's behalf, resulting in a positive outcome. Mr. Jones is a rare personality in the political arena of the 90s who actually cares and is there for you. Isn't that what we're looking for?" And that's my record, and this was an unsolicited ad that was put into the North Reading transcript, and I'd like to thank the family that did that.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hines, you have 1 minute for wrap-up commentary.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank John Upton and Continental Cable and Paul Feely and Karen Sawyer and Brad Jones for coming down here today and discussing the issues of the day. I think it's very important that the voters be informed of the issues, and I think they have a stark contrasting choice here in the 21st Middlesex District. I'm proud to be from this town. I'm proud that a lot of people came out and supported me during my illness, and it was great. The overwhelming support was fantastic, and I really, really would like to thank all the people that sent cards and sent best wishes. That being said, I'm also proud to be a Democrat, and I'm proud to be part of a team that includes President Clinton, John Kerry, and Jim DiPaolo, and Ed Markey, and I think that if we elect this team on November 5th, we will definitely be building that bridge to the 21st century and at least setting the foundation here in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hines. And I'm Karen Sawyer, and I'd like to thank both Brad and Chip for joining us here today and giving everybody an opportunity to ask them some questions. And this was our state representative candidate debate, a 1996 election special. Thank everyone for joining us, and we'll see you all at the polls.